What if I told you that the biggest difference between a billionaire and the average American isn't intelligence, it isn't working harder, and it isn't waking up at 5 a.m.? In fact, many billionaires sleep more than people working two jobs. So what actually separates someone who builds extraordinary wealth from someone who spends decades living paycheck to paycheck? The answer is uncomfortable because it forces us to question everything we've been taught about money. And by the end of this video, you'll see why two people can earn the same income, work equally hard, and end up living completely different financial lives. Let's get into it. Most people believe billionaires simply make more money. That sounds obvious. But here's the strange part. There are professional athletes who earned hundreds of millions of dollars and still ended up broke. There are lottery winners who lost everything. And there are entrepreneurs who started with almost nothing and eventually built billion-dollar companies. Clearly, earning money and building wealth aren't the same thing. That's the first major difference. Billionaires focus on owning. Most people focus on earning. The average person exchanges time for money. A billionaire spends years building something that continues creating value whether they're working or not. A business, a technology, a brand, a piece of real estate, or investments that grow over decades. They don't just ask, how can I make more money? They ask, how can I own something that makes money? That single shift changes everything. The second difference is how they think about time. Ask someone what they do with an extra hour. Many people think about relaxing, watching another episode of a show, or scrolling through social media. None of those things are wrong. Everyone deserves downtime. But billionaires tend to ask a different question. What's the highest value thing I could do with this hour? Notice the difference. It's not about working every second. It's about protecting time like it's their most valuable asset. Because money lost can often be earned back. Time can't. That's why many successful entrepreneurs delegate tasks other people can do. Not because they're lazy, because they understand opportunity cost. Every hour spent on low-value work is an hour not spent making high-impact decisions. Another difference is their relationship with risk. Most people avoid risk. Billionaires try to understand it. That doesn't mean they gamble. In fact, many billionaires hate unnecessary risk. Instead, they calculate it. Before making a decision, they ask questions. What's the downside? Can I survive if this fails? What's the upside if it succeeds? Average people often see risk as something to fear. Successful entrepreneurs often see it as something to manage. Without taking any risks, it's difficult to create extraordinary results. But reckless risks aren't the answer either. The goal is informed risk. Here's another habit that rarely gets attention. Billionaires are obsessed with solving problems. Think about the biggest companies in America. They didn't become massive because someone wanted to be rich. They became massive because they solved problems for millions of people. The bigger the problem, the bigger the opportunity. People happily pay for convenience. They pay for speed. They pay for better healthcare, better transportation, better software, better entertainment. Money follows value. That's a lesson many people overlook. Instead of asking, how can I make $1 million? Successful founders ask, how can I create something millions of people genuinely want? The money often follows. Now let's talk about something people don't like hearing. Delayed gratification. Imagine two people receive the same bonus. One immediately upgrades their car, the other invests it into learning new skills or building a business. 5 years later, their lives may look completely different. Billionaires often delay today's comfort for tomorrow's freedom. Not forever, just long enough for their investments to start working for them. That mindset compounds over time, just like interest. Small decisions repeated for decades become enormous differences. There's another habit hiding in plain sight: reading. It sounds boring. It's definitely not a magic trick. But many highly successful people spend years learning from books, conversations, mentors, and experience. Knowledge compounds too. Every lesson builds on the previous one. Over time, that creates better judgment. And better judgment usually leads to better decisions. Success isn't just about making brilliant choices. It's often about avoiding terrible ones. Let's clear up a common myth. Billionaires don't always work harder than everyone else. There are nurses, construction workers, and farmers who work incredibly hard. Hard work matters, but effort alone isn't enough. Imagine digging a hole with a spoon. You can work harder than anyone. You're still using the wrong tool. Leverage is the difference. Technology, teams, capital, systems, the internet. These allow one person's work to reach millions. Instead of selling 1 hour once, they create something that can be sold thousands or millions of times. That's how businesses scale. Here's another mindset shift. Most people think in terms of expenses. Successful business owners think in terms of investments. A course that teaches a valuable skill, software that saves hundreds of hours, hiring someone who can do specialized work better than they can. Those aren't always costs. Sometimes they're investments that create larger returns later. Of course, not every purchase is an investment. The key is asking one question: will this increase my future value? If the answer is yes, it may be worth considering. Failure is another major difference. Most people try to avoid it. Successful entrepreneurs expect it. That doesn't mean they enjoy failing. Nobody does. But they understand that every business, product, or investment won't succeed. The important part is learning quickly, adjusting, trying again. History is full of companies that nearly disappeared before becoming global successes. Failure isn't always the opposite of success. Sometimes it's part of the path. One thing people rarely notice is the power of relationships. Many opportunities come through trust. Strong networks aren't just about collecting business cards, they're built by helping people, keeping promises, and creating value over time. People want to work with people they trust. Reputation becomes an invisible asset, and invisible assets often produce visible results. Now, here's something that might surprise you. Not every billionaire is happy. Money solves many problems. It can provide security, options, and freedom. But it doesn't automatically create meaningful relationships, health, or purpose. That's an important reminder because social media often shows only private jets and luxury homes. It rarely shows the stress, failed businesses, legal battles, or sacrifices behind them. Comparing your life to someone else's highlight reel is a losing game. So, what can ordinary people actually learn from all this? You don't need to become a billionaire, but you can borrow some of the habits that help many wealthy people succeed. Focus on creating value, learn continuously, protect your time, invest in skills, think long term, build assets instead of only chasing income, take calculated risks instead of avoiding every challenge. Most importantly, remember that wealth usually grows slowly before it grows quickly. The outside world sees the breakthrough, it rarely sees the 10 years that came before it. At the end of the day, the real difference isn't that billionaires come from another planet. Many had advantages, some had luck, some faced enormous obstacles. There isn't one formula that explains every billionaire's journey, but there are patterns. The way they think about ownership, the way they value time, the way they approach learning, risk, and long-term decisions. Those patterns don't guarantee you'll become a billionaire. Nothing can. But they can help you make better financial decisions and build a stronger future, regardless of your income. So here's the question I want you to think about. If your future is shaped by the small choices you make every day, what choice will you make differently starting tomorrow? If you enjoyed this video and want more deep dives into money, success, psychology, and the habits behind extraordinary achievements, make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.